Welcome to our Sunday Q&A. I think this is week 3 of us answering your questions every week. This week we're going to be talking about sleep training, nighttime feeds,
and some breastfeeding between 6 months and a year of age.
Yeah, and so just in case it's your first time meeting us, I'm Kurt. I'm a board-certified pediatrician.
I'm Sarah. I'm a board-certified OBGYN.
And we are the Doctors Bjorkman.
All right, we are back. And again, this week had so many great questions from you. We are kind of going to keep with that theme of sleep learning or sleep training after our video from this week. But before we dive into that, I think we both wanted to say that, sleep training, sleep learning is just one way for a family to get some rest. And at the end of the day, you know your heart and your baby the best, like you are the expert on them. And so sleep training is right for some families and it's not for others, and that's okay. Whatever your parenting philosophy or style is, that's okay. And we support y'all doing whatever works for you.
Yep. And our episode from this past week, we really just wanted to go through some of the research to show that there is not evidence that it is harmful, and that many families and infants do very well with it, and maybe even have some improved outcomes in certain metrics. Granted, the studies, it's really tough to study sleep. And so, some people were very thoughtful in saying, hey, some of this research doesn't seem very strong, and you are exactly correct on that.
Totally. So ultimately, just wanted it to be a resource for you all as you are exploring, trying to figure out what is going to work best for you and your little one. So good luck with that.
Yeah. And so our first question is going to dive into that. So from Kimber Wolf, at what age can you sleep train? Also, what age do you not wake them up to feed? My 8-week-old has been so easy. He is already sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night. I wake him to feed him sometimes. I hear both perspectives on this. Some people wake them at this age, and some say let them sleep. He's healthy and gained weight, but I love your opinions. Great. So this is a couple questions here. We're going to take this bit by bit. The first one is, at what age can you sleep train? So the first piece of this that we mentioned in our video from this past week is in terms of just where baby's sleeping in this. And sometimes it's the sleep training is nice when baby has their own room, but the AAP does recommend that babies sleep in the same room as their parents until 6 months of age to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. Having said that, it is nice to be able to sleep train, do sleep learning when they're in their own room. So whenever that transition happens for you, is a good time to think about it. The other piece is your baby needs to be old enough, have gained enough weight, shown that they're healthy to be able to sleep longer stretches of time. And general recommendations are about starting sleep training, sleep learning processes no sooner than 4 months. Some people say 5 to 6 months. So in that window is generally accepted for that.
Right. So let's unpack that next part. My 8-week-old has been so easy. He's already sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night. Amazing. Don't tell all your mom friends. I wake him to feed sometimes. I hear both perspectives on this. Some people wake them at this age and some say let them sleep. He's healthy and gain weight, but I'd love your opinions. So I think always, if you're ever having any questions, always talk to your pediatrician. They know your baby. They look at that little growth curve and can tell you more about your baby. Generally speaking, I know the opinion you're hearing in your head is that old saying to never wake a sleeping baby. And that's sort of true. I think that saying should be never wake a sleeping baby at night. And we'll go into that a little bit more. But it is really important that you wake your baby up during the day to make sure they're eating every 2 to 3 hours so that they are getting all the calories in that they need during daytime. And then you can start stretching those nighttime feeds, as it sounds like is sort of happening naturally, which is awesome. As for the 8 weeks thing.
Yeah, so in terms of how long can your baby safely sleep at night, the rule of thumb that we shared in our video this past week was generally for every 1 week of age, they can have a stretch overnight about that length. So if they're 4 weeks old, they could have a stretch of sleep overnight about 4 hours. If they're 5 weeks old, 5 hours, 6 weeks old, up to 6 hours overnight up until they're about 10 to 12 weeks. Really, no baby is going to be in the crib for more than 10 to 12 hours at one stretch at night. The biggest reason for this really has to do twofold. So one, you don't want them sleeping so much that they aren't getting adequate calories in. The fact that your baby is growing well and following their growth curve says the baby's getting enough to eat every 24 hours, which goes back to making sure your baby's eating during the daytime so that they can sleep longer at night and still have adequate calories in. The other piece that comes with really recommendations of why for a newborn you want to wake your newborn to feed them every 2 to 3 hours for that first month of life is that babies aren't able to store nutrition as efficiently or get those calories from stores as efficiently either. And a lot of this has to do with how the liver processes things, how they store glycogen and break glycogen down from the stores in the liver. As they start to get closer to a couple months of age, 2, 3, 4 months of age especially, they really have the ability to store and then metabolize that energy easily, and so it's much easier for them to sleep longer stretches of night. Your baby who is 8 weeks old now, 2 to 3 months of age, should have no problem sleeping longer stretches at night, and you wouldn't have to wake them.
From a safety, physiologic needs standpoint. So, 0 to 4 weeks, you want to be waking them every 2 to 3 hours to feed them because they need that because they don't have those body fat stores. But after, with your pediatrician's blessing, it sounds like you may be able to let them sleep a little bit longer.
So just to bring it back, if your baby is less than 1 month of age, you definitely need to be waking them during the night, probably every 3 to 4 hours at least during the night to feed them to make sure they're getting enough calories in that they have and so they aren't having low blood sugars and things like that. Once they're past that first month, and even as they get closer to that 2-month mark, and now your baby that's 8 weeks old, they have the ability to go long stretches of time overnight without needing that feed in order to keep their blood sugar up, as long again as they're getting the calories they need during the daytime.
Yes. Our next question comes to us from E, and they asked, how often should baby be breastfeeding from 6 months to 1 year? My baby is almost 9 months, and it's tough to find a recommended schedule for frequencies of breastfeeding and solids. Currently, I'm nursing 5 times a day and an occasional overnight, so 6 times, with 2 or 3 meals as well. When should I cut back on how many times I nurse a day, or is it up to me and baby? And so the short answer here is it's kind of up to you and baby, as different babies kind of transition from breast milks to solids at different rates. In general, breast milk intake really starts to decrease between that 9 to 12 months of age mark as the babies are starting to eat more substantial amounts of solids. And at 9 months of age, many babies are still needing that 24 to 30 ounces of breast milk a day per 24 hours, or maybe a little less. Now, from 9 to, that 9 to 12 months mark, that really drops off as around the 12 months of age mark, babies need about 12 to 16 ounces of milk a day to make sure they're getting adequate calcium intake.
Yeah, I think a good thing to think about here is just, the transition from 6 to 12 months, as you said, is really different for every baby and every mother.
Totally.
When your baby is 6 months of age, they're just starting solids. I think we did baby-led weaning at 5 months of age. But really those solid foods and those extra snacks during the day are non-nutritive, meaning they're there for baby to learn how to eat, but not getting substantial calories or nutrients from them. And it's really not until they're about 9 months of age that they're getting enough calories from that to really even see a change in the amount of milk they're taking. Okay, so your baby is 9 months. They're right at that stage where maybe they aren't going to be wanting to take as much breast milk because they're starting to be able to eat more solid foods. It's a good time to then start giving those snacks before a feed, and you'll see oh, he just had a big snack, maybe he doesn't want to feed as much.
Or before their meal.
Yeah. And then just to say it again, as Sarah already mentioned, generally that 24 to 30 ounces of milk a day, if you're bottle feeding, is about what babies need, even as they add in the solids, because then the solids are helping. They're a bigger baby, they need more calories in a day. But then in that 9 to 12 months, you'll see that drop off.
So at that 9-month mark, I think that's about the time we started offering those meals, that mealtime or that snack, before offering a bottle or nursing. And so then it just kind of gradually happens if their tummy's full and then it's time to nurse. Maybe they don't nurse as much or as long. And the other thing that I will say, you mentioned looking for good sleep, or not sleep schedules, eating schedules. Solid Starts has a great free resource on baby feeding schedules that we will link in the description below. And it goes through different kind of bottle feeding and starting solid schedules from 3 to 5 months. It talks about how much breast milk or formula they should get. It gives ideas for when to give the bottles and offer snacks all the way kind of each month up through 12 months, 12 to 15 months and beyond.
So I'm trying to remember, I think for Cecilia, we were doing maybe 4 feeds a day at that 9-month mark.
Maybe.
4 breast milk feeds and then maybe like 3 solid meals a day too.
Sounds right.
But like 4 to 6 breast milk or formula feeds a day kind of in that 9-month window is pretty standard. And then you'll see they're just taking less breast milk.
She just one day was over it and it was very sad. And so then that was how we weaned. So that journey looks different for everyone, and wish you the best as they, your little one transitions to eating food. It was it was so fun, but I also was like, oh, bottle feeding was easier. You just didn't have to think about as much in terms of feeding them. So cheers to toddlers and feeding them. So
anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you're tuned in for our weekly episode on Wednesday. And if you have more questions for us, let us know. We'll try to get to those next week for our Sunday sit-down Q&A. We're doctors.
but not your doctors.
Anything we've said in this video is for education or entertainment purposes only.
It is not medical advice.
Any specific medical questions you have should be directed to your provider.